So welcome everybody, whoever has joined us on live as well, welcome. This is Tribes for Good's webinar series, Building Young Change Makers. My name is Nadita and I'm going to be hosting the entire webinar series. So Tribes for Good is a platform that helps you discover, learn, and contribute to issues that you care about, while also bridging the talent gap for social enterprises. The organization was founded in 2018 and is headquartered in Mumbai. By combining training with grassroots innovators, we help those interested in being in the social impact space to actually create positive change. So Tribes for Good primarily looks at simplifying the journey of potential change makers. This webinar series is called Building Young Change Makers. So the webinar series looks at addressing a few key questions, such as how do we build a nation that is conscious about social and environmental factors? How do we build citizen leaders? How do we understand the social impact sector as a space of innovation? And finally, how can you create social impact by looking at your own personal interests and talents? So through the entire webinar, we'll be having different speakers who will be coming in and talking about their own different fields for you to understand how different areas of social impact work. That is what we're looking at doing. So today, the first webinar will focus on the theme of practicing sustainability. So this is really a pressing issue, especially given today's climate. So we thought this is very apt to start off our webinar. And so we have speakers from Daily Dump joining us today. Daily Dump is a waste management company based out of Bangalore. It was started in the year 2006. Their main objective is to reduce waste and enable better livelihoods through the collective action of urban citizens. So joining us today from Daily Dump are Amarpreet Singh and Anando Ghosh. Amarpreet, yes, thank you for joining us. Amarpreet heads the business development and sales vertical at Daily Dump, trained civil engineer and an alumnus of the social entrepreneurship program at INSEAD. He joined Daily Dump in 2015. At the organization, he has been responsible for building up the community composting sales department and has expanded the company's reach across the country. Welcome to this webinar. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nandita.
The other speaker for today is Anando Ghosh. He works as a growth associate in the sales and marketing team. He has recently joined Daily Dump after working in the advertising sector for a few years. He's a cheerleader for responsible consumerism and aims at tapping into his communication and marketing knowledge to help Daily Dump expand its vision. Welcome, Anando. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Nandita.
Before we get started talking about the company and what you do in the organization, I wanted to hear a little bit about how both of you got into the waste management space. What interested you to get into this space?
Okay, so I'll go. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So in my case, it was a matter of chance, Nandita. So I was before this, I was in Rajasthan like almost 6 years ago, and there we were trying to do a small project with local schools there on trying, getting children to become change makers in their own right and find out some issues close to their school where they could, implement some solutions. And,
Okay.
and I remember in one of the schools that we used to go to, the children had chosen the issue of waste.
Okay.
That's the first time I got in touch with this issue, because we can see it everywhere, but how do you really solve the problem? And then when they asked me, okay, what is the solution to all this plastic lying around? I also didn't have any answers. And then that's when I started speaking to lots of different entrepreneurs and people in the waste space. And then I chanced upon Daily Dump, and when I spoke to Poonam, who's our founder, and then our talks progressed, and I just came and joined the team.
Okay, so were you in a different field prior to this?
Yeah, I was in a different field prior to this. Like you mentioned, civil engineering, and then I was in education for a bit.
Okay.
And that's where I chanced upon this. And then this is something that really resonated with me, I'd say. And I thought I should contribute to something like this. But then, and after that, it just became a passion itself.
Okay, yeah. Okay, great. So What about you, Anando?
So for me, like you mentioned, I was working in advertising, and there most of my days was, spent in cracking strategies on, how to make people buy certain things. But eventually, after a point, I started realizing, okay, we are buying so many things, but what is happening with these things once we're done with the product, or what is happening with the packaging, or what is happening with the byproducts of all of this? And that's where I started doing my own research, and then I started looking, like, introspecting a little bit, whenever we're ordering food or things like that. There's so much of wasted material. And I started, doing a little research on what happens with this waste, what happens with organic waste. And that's when I came across Daily Dump, because I felt like organic waste is something which is a lot more in our control, a lot more. Not that solid waste management isn't, but I feel like organic waste is in a lot more our control. And that's how I came across Daily Dump. And yeah.
It's interesting because waste, like Amarpreet said, is something that we see around all the time, but not everyone is really inclined to do something about it, right? So especially because social sector itself is something that people still don't really look at it as a career option initially. So it's interesting how your journeys got you here from all that you were doing previously. So now that you've shared how you got here, let's talk about Daily Dump. First of all, how did the name come about? Because Daily Dump itself is such an interesting name. So who came up with it? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the name was coined by a founder herself. Her name is, like I mentioned, her name is Poonam. She's a designer. And back in the day in 2006, actually for the first couple of years, she actually literally ran it out of her garage where she would make composters. And Daily Dump, it has, like in the American sense of the word, it has funny connotations. And that's why we wanted to keep it is what she says, because once you hear it, you don't forget it. So and that's the logic, basically. So, how do you reimagine even a term like Daily Dump and actually, because the idea is to make waste beautiful and for people to accept things like garbage, daily dump, kachra, and so to speak. How do you change perception? But absolutely did it because it makes people remember it and it changes their whole mindset about it.
And it's very, I would say it's a smart idea as well, because you immediately connect it to waste anyway. So it's very clear what the main core of the organization is. So that's very interesting as well.
Yeah.
Amar, could you tell us what is unique about Daily Dump's approach to solving the waste management problem compared to probably other initiatives or organizations that work in this space?
Yeah, so this space is really complicated, Nandita. So there's just lots of things happening. There is policy, there's other players. But what we felt was we wanted to use design as a tool to make products that enable behavior change. And when I say that, it's as simple as saying, can we create something that gets someone excited, motivated, gets someone to speak to their friends and relatives, gets them to change their own behaviors with something as deeply ingrained as waste in our society, where it is seen as something that needs to be thrown away, something that needs to be dealt with by the government. There are notions of, I pay my taxes, then why should I take care of my waste? So the design challenge is, how do you create that product that kind of meets all these requirements, but at the same time is also fun and viable, and also can reach masses. So a lot of those kind of things. So I feel what sets us apart is the design angle of things. And we are centered around design thinking and saying, okay, how do we solve this problem, but innovatively and in a fun sort of a way that it involves people instead of just making them feel intimidated and just going away from
it. So an approach that is sustainable, right? So that after you initially do the hand holding, they can do it on their own as well and influence others.
Absolutely. And the second thing we really focused on is keeping in touch with our customers and engaging them. I think for anyone who's interested in doing social enterprise sort of work, people are at the center of it. If they don't agree with what you're saying, if they don't accept your product or your service, then you need to act quickly and you need to act fast. And you need to say, okay, how do I delight them more than anything? So I think that's something we keep trying to do, and I hope, people can tell more if we've done a good job, but we feel in terms of our customers, we really take care of them, listen to them, and that's very important when you do something like waste management.
Correct. Any social initiative ultimately, unless, like you said, behavior change happens, I don't think we'll see its impact on ground, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
staying in touch with our customers also helps us understand where we're going right, where we're going, where can we improve, where can we not. And like Amar said, being a social enterprise, that becomes so much more relevant.
Correct.
So,
yeah. Speaking of organizations in this space and what sets you apart, Anandu, how do you think operating in Bangalore makes a difference to how the organization runs? Like, what do you think the waste management space in Bangalore is like? Do you see any differences between how Bangalore is when it comes to waste management compared to other Indian cities?
Well, so Bangalore, I mean, there are pros and cons to that. So one is that Bangalore has been growing at such a rapid pace. It's probably one of the fastest growing cities in Asia, if not India. Yeah. And I think Amar was telling me how the population has doubled twice in recent times. So with that come a lot of challenges, because as a city grows, the amount of waste that's also generated increases.
Correct.
Right? And because it's been growing so rapidly, there is a contrast between old parts of the city and new parts of the city. And, so for example, in central Bangalore, like Indiranagar and MG Road and Ashok Nagar, all these areas, the waste collection would be slightly different compared to that in newer parts like Sarjapur and Malleshwaram. But in the past few years, the municipality has tried to increase its door-to-door collection of garbage. So even solid waste and wet waste, they try to come down to individual houses, and then you have to go down and give your waste. But the catch of that is still there is so much of centralized collection of waste. So in northern Bangalore, near Jakkur Lake, that is one of the prime dumping sites of the BBMP, where a huge part of our waste goes there. So that is a challenge for us, because our entire belief is to decentralize waste. You shouldn't have collection, you shouldn't centralize the waste collection. That is the entire problem. And we want to, that's where Daily Dump also comes into place, where we don't want to send our waste out to landfills and things like that. We want organic waste to be treated by yourself if you can, right? But the pro of that is that there is also an increased sense of awareness in the city. We feel that it is slightly easier to talk to people within Bangalore, and they're a lot more conscious about certain things. And also that's also given us the environment to really grow and flourish in a city like this, because that's where we started out our operations. And there are so many other companies and organizations like us who are really looking at solving this whole waste management and how we can get things better.
So, but in your experience, both of you, like, do you feel like there are I see a lot of such organizations or initiatives in Bangalore, but do you think the other Indian cities are also keeping up when it comes to the waste management space, from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, after this, after the whole Swachh Bharat thing started, right? So, in terms of policy, there were many changes. In fact, we've had years in between. I remember in 2017 in Bombay, there was this huge, you can say, uprising, because almost all societies were told that we will stop collecting your waste from certain time because you have to deal with it centrally. And suddenly those changes were coming. So people who were not even exposed to the idea of sustainability being a slightly larger, but even the idea of composting or segregation, were now being exposed to it at a larger scale. So we feel now, so today at Daily Now, we get calls from all over the country. We get calls from North India, we get calls from throughout the East and the Western states, which was not the case, I would say, like 5 years ago. When the operations were very limited, we were still doing cities like Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Pune. But now it's literally everywhere. In fact, one of our most successful outlets of the company is in Chandigarh, which is completely north. And they're doing a great job in getting schools and colleges and organizations there to compost as well. So it's growing as a movement, I'd say.
That sounds lovely. I think involving schools and younger people is also a big win, because they are going to be the adults of tomorrow, and sometimes it's easier to change their behavior rather than changing some adults, right?
Absolutely.
That's sometimes been my experience in just behavior change in general.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. And in fact, we've also, since you mentioned that, we've also done interventions in that. We've done a few books. We've done work on some curriculums with schools.
Okay.
We've done some projects. In fact, on our YouTube, you can find a video called Under the Flyover Project, which was which we did in there's a Hebbala flyover in Bangalore, where we would get school children to come and do interesting activities around nature and understanding nature and the city and how they coincide a little more. So we do stuff like that, and we really want to also partake in that, is what I would say, because we do realize that if like I was never told about composting in school,
yes,
you know, but I was told about a lot of other things which
I don't think we were ever told all of that when we were in school.
Yes, exactly. You know, it's like sometimes we crack a joke saying one more day has passed and we've not used Pythagoras theorem in our life.
I know.
so this coming, I mean, that's just a joke. I mean, but we really need this to be there in schools for sure, and it needs to be a part of a curriculum. Children need to be told how a plant grows.
Correct.
You know, what is a seed and those things. So that's a big gap. Yes.
Yeah, true. Speaking of composting and segregation, which I think you just touched upon, like you said, composting is at the core of what Daily Dump does, right? So can you tell us a bit more about composting? Like, what is it? How can a person who knows nothing about it start composting? What are probably some basic things that you'll need to start composting?
Right. So in composting, one thing to remember, Nanda, is that everything that has lived has to decompose. You know, all living matter, including us. So that is one prime fundamental design on which our universe is built. And what we are doing is when we mix different kinds of materials like wet waste with plastic and everything, that decomposition becomes so slow that it starts leaking impacts into the environment around. Because if you were to look at it among millions of years, someone would say, oh, anyway, the plastic is going to disappear after 5 million years. But it's going to do a lot of harm while doing that. So composting is simply a way of turning your kitchen waste into compost. A compost is basically decomposed matter. So all the complex compounds that your food has, you're basically breaking it down into simpler matter. Finally, it's becoming a soil-like substance called compost. And a compost is basically a food for the soil. It's absolutely amazing when you apply it to soils and try to grow plants. It brings great results. You could call it a manure also, because if you have existing plants, it helps them to grow better. It's also a wonderful material for the soil itself. So because soils are becoming a problem in the country, they're losing a lot of their carbon and stuff like that. So it's a wonderful replenisher of soil itself. So there are, I mean, I can keep speaking about benefits of compost, but important thing to note is that there are solutions now, like what Daily Dump gives, is that you can compost at home without any smell. And in fact, I'll just shift the camera a little bit.
Yeah.
We're actually sitting right next to one of the Daily Dump composters, so we are not two people on the webinar, we're three.
Okay.
So this is a composter, and see the size of it. I'm just sitting next to it, and it's almost just till here. So it's not too large. It's got like these 3 units. This is the first unit. And how you compost basically is you start with the first unit. You put your daily kitchen waste and we give a powder with it. And then you start keep doing that every day for about 30 to 45 days. And after that, your oldest material decomposes and forms compost. We can show this in a little more detail later if you'd like. But the gist of it is you need a space in your house which is open. For apartment dwellers, it's a balcony.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to ask because that's become the norm these days, right?
Yeah. So and that's why this design is like a layered thing. So that you can keep it in the edge of your balcony, and that's about it. You can just compost there. If you add the powder that I mentioned is basically made out of cocoa peat.
Okay.
It's a material which is used to, some people use it for growing plants also.
Yes.
But we dry it and put some bacterial cultures in it.
Okay.
So that absorbs the moisture from your waste and make sure there is no smell. So, and that's what I would categorically mention, that if you are composting in your balcony and you're putting the right amount of that powder, it's layering the waste with the powder and it's removing any smell. So you can sit right next to it have your chai there. You won't find any stench, although you'll be sitting right next to some 20 kilos of wet waste. And that was very critical for us to do, and that's why people adopted more and more over a period of this thing. And on a side note, if you work in an office or if you live in a bigger apartment complex, we have solutions where you can centrally compost as well.
Okay.
In the community itself. So everybody's waste is collected. They take it to that central composter. That's a slightly bigger one. And you put everything there. And again, the same process of putting the waste and the powder and layering it every day. And after 30 to 45 days, it becomes compost.
So just to clarify here, when you say waste, are you talking about specifically wet waste?
Specifically wet waste includes things from the kitchen, that are edible or
like your peels, leftover food, etc. Right?
Everything. Some things to remember: if you have rasam or sambar, for example, things which are wet,
liquid,
drain them and keep only the vegetables in those. Put those more moisture, because that can slow down the process a little bit.
Okay.
And same goes for dal and stuff like that. And then if you have a coconut shell that is very hard to break down, and like municipality says you put it as a part of your dry waste and not.
Correct.
But if you eat non-veg food and you have eggshells, bones and stuff like that, it's absolutely fine to put those also.
Okay.
They're full of calcium and it's fine. And some other doubts people have is, biodegradable bags. Sometimes people ask, can we put those into a composter? So we recommend not to do that, because usually to decompose a food item will take about 40 days, but to decompose a bag is going to take months.
Okay.
So there are these things, a few things to keep in mind, but mostly all food items from the kitchen can go.
Okay. This is why segregation also then becomes important, right?
Yeah.
Of wet waste and dry waste. Okay, great. I think that gives us a better idea of what you need for compost. So speaking of composting, Ananda, what do you think is the biggest challenge when it comes to getting people to start composting in their houses? When you talk to them about composting and asking them to start, what is the biggest challenge?
Well, quite simply, the first thing is just why, because people are, even it happened to, I've been through the similar thing where I fail to account for my individual responsibility, because in our heads, biodegradable is fine. So how I was saying before that, we think, okay, this decomposes. So then we can throw it anywhere and there are no problems, there are no issues. So when we go and tell people that, okay, it goes to the landfills, it seeps into our water bodies, it seeps into our lakes, then people start realizing, okay, like this is the impact that I as an individual am also having on our planet.
So sort of the chain effect, right, of what happens.
Exactly. And that also, it's more of a cycle, not even a chain, because it comes back to you.
Correct.
Use that contaminated water to grow our vegetables, to grow our fruits. And you, like our farmers, and then you are consuming those contaminated fruits and vegetables with those same chemicals. So that has been one of our challenges, that, people just are little rigid in understanding why they need to start composting, and then the effect that they could have as an individual on our entire community. So that has been one challenge of ours.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of this, like Amar was mentioning earlier, I think the awareness is slowly increasing. So has the response, do you see, since you've especially been with Daily Dump for a few years, Amar, do you feel like they are more open to listening to your initiatives? Do you foresee any changes in people's responsiveness when you talk about waste management? How do you see this? How do you see the change?
Yeah, in terms of data, Nandita, the number of people interested, say, per year is definitely increasing a lot. It's like we were discussing, the whole Swachh Bharat thing happened.
Yeah.
Different municipalities, you have examples of Indore, for example.
Yes.
You have examples of Mysore, Chandigarh. You have cities like Bangalore, which are much more massive and problems here. So the issue really grew and people were exposed to it a lot. And I feel the responsiveness has definitely increased. And what has also helped is things like social media, like we had no idea about social media, how do we promote stuff, but for the last 2-3 years we are finding that just by showing good stories on Instagram and stuff like that. A lot of people get interested, and we are able to generate interest in places we were not doing it probably before. And also, I feel we have a good network of partners.
Yes.
It's very important to penetrate into different areas with local people there. You from Bangalore, try to influence, say, some city, say Delhi, for example. You can't do it unless you are there on the ground, actually talking to people. So strategically, if there are people listening right now who want to do this kind of work, it's very important to find good people, find them fast, and train them in different parts of the country if you want to be solving problems on the ground.
Correct.
So what I'm trying to say is even that network of ours has grown a lot over here.
Okay.
So that is
just taking off from what you said, so you work with, you mentioned working with schools, and do you also work with the government in some sense, or what? Who are your different stakeholders or partners?
So we work with we've done some projects with the government.
Okay.
Say some sort of CSR from some PSUs, and we work with some municipalities like Ahmedabad, and I remember working with Guwahati municipality. But those have been just projects where they would tell us, okay, we need to get this area started with composting, and how do we enable people to do that, and then getting people those products.
Okay.
But the larger part of our work is directly with customers, directly with people staying in our cities, and people who can, because we really want this to be an intervention that people take up voluntarily and they take it up in their homes. And we feel that's where the true impact is. So we focus our attention there. And major stakeholders, like I mentioned, we have outlet partners across the country. So there are about 70 odd right now. And if you go to the Daily Dump website, you can find, like a list of places where it's available.
Okay.
If you are living in, say, Pune, you can find your nearest partner, go to them, and they'll be able to explain you the process of composting, why you should do it. They'll be able to do a demonstration in your community and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great. I was just going to ask you if you all do a demo usually for customers.
Yes, we do that. And so they are also major stakeholders in increasing our impact and reach in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So speaking of composting, Anindya, what do you think, because global warming and climate change is such a big conversation now, at least in the past 3-4 years, how do you see composting as an ally to fighting or combating climate change?
Well, on a softer note, it is a behavioral shift that we are trying to get about. So what we notice is someone who is into composting is also has a, starts leaning towards a more sustainable form of life. They start looking into the waste they are creating, segregating the waste, all of that. So that ultimately creates more environmentally responsible people, at least behavior. But in terms of the technicalities, one is that because we are not sending our organic waste out, so the collection, there's no collection, there's no need for transportation to come and pick up the wet waste from point A, take it to the collection point B, all of that. So there's no need for vehicles. So all that transport and the emissions and all of that are substantially reduced. Then secondly is that all this wet waste, which is collected from our households and offices and all of that, it goes to landfills. Now what happens there is, as it is decomposing, there is a lot of methane gas generated. Now methane is a greenhouse gas, which very directly contributes to global warming. So as our waste, the amount of waste we are generating increases, the size of our landfills are increasing. As the size of our landfills increases, the amount of methane gas that is there in the environment is increasing. And with that, global temperatures are rising, and it contributes very directly to global warming. And lastly, one more thing would be is that because of more technologically intensive or even more chemical intensive agriculture, and even because of extra tilling and things like that, it's reduced the quality of our soil.
Correct.
And how do I mean that? I mean that the carbon content in soil has reduced substantially. And what carbon does is it traps the heat in the soil. Now composting is basically restores that carbon content. So if you mix compost in your soil, not only do the nutrients increase, but even the carbon content of the soil increases.
Okay, so like he was saying, it's replenishing the soil in a way, is what he was saying.
And the carbon traps the heat. So almost like if you use a lot of compost in a huge amount of area, there will be a considerable drop in the temperatures of that area after a point.
Oh, wow.
Because it starts trapping the heat. The carbon traps the heat. So that, in that sense, also it reduces the, the harmful effects of global warming by bringing temperatures down and restoring balance in a certain way.
That's really interesting what you mentioned about the temperature of an area itself dropping down. Have either of you seen or experienced that with any communities that you worked with or places that you have worked with?
No, not really. I think that happens on a massive scale.
Correct.
So we're talking of thousands of acres of farmland creating the temperature impact. But if you, I would strongly recommend, there's actually a documentary on Netflix called Kiss the Ground.
Okay.
So everyone who's watching right now, I strongly recommend watching it. And it'll give you great insight on not only what compost does, that's a very small part of it, but overall the story of the soil itself and where it is taking us as a species.
Okay. Okay. It's very interesting. I think especially given the conversation around climate change is actually picking up now, I think people are, like both of you said, they are more open to at least hearing about what happens, what are the consequences of their actions even in the households, right? So hopefully the awareness will only keep changing. Speaking of what people can do in this space, what do you think the role of students is when it comes to waste management? What is it that students can do to encourage such practices wherever they are in their communities? What do you think they can do as young people?
Well, young people, like you were mentioning, one is it's easier to influence their behavior compared to this thing, but also young people themselves can influence others' behaviors. So what we feel is, to give you an example, in one of the communities that we were trying to implement composting, the association came up with an interesting idea that let's send small kids to every house and even call them waste police or something, and then they go to the house and say like, hey, you need to segregate, otherwise. That spreads a message so much better than actually sending a grown up and then people fighting and things like that. So, but anyway, that's one example. So children have the drive and the energy, I think, to create massive change wherever they stay. We can empower them to get their communities to compost. We can empower them to get their colleges or wherever they study to start thinking about this a lot more. And on the contrary, we can get curriculums to also include these kind of initiatives and include them in a way where it's just not stuff written in a book, but it's more like more hands-on. It's more on the ground. Children are sent to an area, they're given responsibility of handling a plant. In fact, some schools do that now, which is a great development. But it could be a lot more.
Yeah, the number is small, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, very, very small.
Yeah. So when you spoke about actually doing some curriculum work also with schools, how open were they to such things when you wanted to discuss it?
So actually, in our case, it came from the school side as well. So they were pretty open. And we were lucky to also meet people who were open to do that.
Yeah.
But we still have it in our plans to kind of roll it out in a slightly bigger way. And in fact, where we are sitting right now, we call it, this is the Daily Dump Experience Center.
Okay.
One of our efforts towards that, where we wanted to create a space in the city where people can come. And one is, of course, they can shop for alternative sustainable products, composting. But also, we have some panels designed here, which I can maybe, right after we're done with the questions, I can just walk you around quickly.
Okay.
But this was a one-stop place where workshops we could do for municipality officials, for school children, for even for corporate offices. They have done some, one-day workshops here. Unfortunately, that was literally a few months before COVID that we started that. So and after that, because physical spaces got locked up and all that. So we've been doing a lot of work online, but I feel it's just not the same flavor when you can actually touch the soil and things like that. but this was one step towards that. So we plan to do more of educational and curriculum work in the coming, I'd say, a couple of years for sure.
So you're quite optimistic about how it will be received then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you were speaking about some products that you sell as well. Could you tell us a little more about the sustainable products that Daily Dump sells?
Yes. So composting you already know.
Yeah.
So that's where the behavior change bit is. We also do other products, for example, say bamboo straws.
Okay.
Alternatives to soaps, using more natural and organic soaps for doing that. We have this
chemical-free soaps and detergents.
Okay.
Right? And then apart from home care, we have sustainable menstruation products, for example.
Okay, like cups, etc. Cloth pads, cups.
Cloth pads and cups, yeah.
Okay.
But what we try to do, Nandita, is that we don't. There are already a lot of people doing those products, so we don't want to be just another vendor who's also doing that, because we've done a lot of work in composting and we have customers who care about it. So we've also become this one-stop shop where we tell other brands that, hey, you can come and put your products here.
Okay, you sort of collaborate with them.
Collaborate with them.
Yeah. Okay.
If you Google right now, you'll find so many people actually doing cups, for example, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So there's no point in doing that again, rewriting the book. We let's support other brands to do it. So that's what we do here. So some of these products that I'm telling you are not really Daily Dump products, but we kind of collate them. But we take it from brands where we know that they're being sourced ethically. We know that the material that they're saying, they're actually using it. We've seen their facility and stuff like that. So, and apart from that, we have gardening related products, because that's literally something that relates to composting.
Correct.
There we have our own products. So from from seeds to compost itself to garden boosters and stuff like that. So because that's something that our customers are directly interested in. And in fact, many people say that people who garden will be interested in composting. We've seen the other way around also. We've seen lots of people who started composting and they're like, oh, hey, I can probably try my hand at gardening also, which is very interesting. So
yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I think I lost you for a second there.
Yeah. Sorry, there was some lag. Yeah, so that's what we were saying. So we have, so gardening products are also there. And then we have larger scale composters itself, where we do it for communities and organizations. Yes.
Okay, interesting. I think the idea of having an experience center is really interesting. Like you said, maybe before we wrap up, we could take a look around, so that that will be interesting as well. Okay, so before we get to it, to all of our young change makers who are listening to the live right now, what would you two say to those who are interested in waste management or probably thinking about building their own social enterprises in this space?
Well, one is just from a personal point of view. One is patience. And you are doing it for impact. You are doing it for long term. And it's not that if you get 1,000 people to believe in you, you have crossed the mark, or if you get 100 people, you have failed. Because there is no real measure as such. We're all just, it's a journey.
Yeah.
So that is one thing which helps me personally. And it helps me understand that I'm speaking to individuals, which extends to institutions. I'm going from micro to macro. So just giving every single individual, every single customer that importance really helps. And I feel like that is at the core of a social enterprise. I mean, it's in the word itself. And just that, like that keeps me going, that, every individual who I am able to convince that you should start composting, or at least start segregating your waste, I am doing better than I was doing yesterday. And I think that's the only way forward, be it waste management or be it education or whatever it might be. So, yeah.
Very wise words. I can already relate to that, although I'm not in that space at all. Like you said, I think the development space itself requires a lot of patience. So, Amar, what would you tell such young change makers?
Yeah, something similar. So, a lot of people, so young change, when you get into a line like this, a lot of people tell that, hey, there's no market for this. How many people do you think you can get started with something?
Yeah.
And what I can proudly say is that Daily Dump, we've literally created a market. In 2006, when we started, so in 2005, so to speak, nobody really was composting at home. Apart from people who were doing it entirely open areas where they had a huge backyard and they villages that it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So from a management perspective, like a typical management person would say, hey, there is no market for this. You really want to spend so much R&D and this and that on a solution like this. I mean, in that case, then, as social enterprises, you really need to decide and you really need to really believe in what you're trying to do, because it's going to be slow, but it's going to be very fruitful. And today, when we reflect now, because we're finishing 15 years next month, by the way. And when
congratulations.
Thank you. So when we're reflecting now, we're actually seeing, to name a few, around the world, there are so many other people who've started composting ventures because of us.
Wow.
And when I say around the world, I really mean countries like Chile, like there's a company in Argentina, there's a company in Pakistan, there's a company in Kenya. And some of those we are actually, like, if someone can go to our LinkedIn page, we're actually putting some of those videos this week. But literally, those are fully grown enterprises who model their composters around what we have made here. And so that's the amount of impact you can have, like Anindo said, over after your or during the course of your journey. So
I think, like Anindo said, patience is key, and then you see change eventually, right? Gradually. Yeah. Okay, so before we probably take a look at your experience center, is there anything else that you would like to share about Daily Dump before we go on to looking at your experience center? Anything else that you might want to talk about?
From my side, not really. I just like to thank you guys for doing this today. And I feel we need to do more of these sessions for younger people. And I feel it should not only be talking also. I strongly recommend everybody who's listening right now to actually go to the Daily Dump website, go to the YouTube page, see more of our work, see how you can, impact as well. Look at other organizations in this space. We really need to start supporting them. And that's the only way this will grow.
Yeah. Okay, great. With that, maybe we could just take a quick look around, if that's okay with you too.
Absolutely. So I'll just have to carry this thing. Just give me a... Okay, so this is, I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is the Experience Center entry.
Okay.
And this right here is the area where we actually do composting workshops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can see there's some sort of stuff kept here.
Yes.
Where it explains the stages of the compost and things like that.
Okay.
To show you the Experience Center itself, we have these kind of panels here. Now, if I show you this panel here quickly, so this is a workshop in itself. So if you look at things like, say, convenience, right? And there's a small photograph here of, say, food ordering and stuff like that that people are really used to. So then people can go inside, and when they open, they see a picture of large amounts of waste around, say, something as convenient. And then when you open, you can actually see different solutions that are there for solving the problem of packaging due to, packaged food.
Okay.
So then we have some questions or cues here for children where they can say, okay, can we find out some companies that, do not do this kind of packaging, and where are they situated?
Okay.
And then I enjoy the fun of ordering 3 different dishes from 3 different places.
Yeah.
Why should I take on the guilt of the packaging? Those kind of questions we really focus on. So that way.
That's very interesting.
So that's very interesting. So, but just to show you, this is one small panel in about a lot of them.
Yeah.
We have several more that side. So it becomes like a full one-day workshop sort of a space where we can have children, where we can have teams from corporates or municipalities come and learn more. And finally, the whole thing ends here. And yeah, so there's lots of different kinds of panels, and this little graphic here shows a complete
cycle of waste.
Cycle of waste, correct. So where it ends, and because what happens is when people look at waste, they look at it very linearly, that it leaves from here, goes there, and ends. What they don't know is that it's actually a very complex system where there are leaks at every stage. You know, so those kind of things. So we tend to explain that, and that right outside is a lovely garden.
Yes.
And so that's where a lot of compost that we produce here in the office itself, we kind of end up using.
Okay.
The garden itself. So yeah, so this is a quick
short summary tour sort of.
But we can do, I mean, for anyone on the call who's interested, we can do like specific workshops, and even online on any of these things that I was mentioning. If you want to actually look at a longer tour, we have a video of the Experience Center on YouTube.
Okay, great.
So we'll be more than happy to share, that. But if you go to YouTube and search "daily dump compost at home," you can find the same. Okay,
great. It was so interesting talking to both of you. Thank you so much for taking time out on a Saturday to talk to us. I learned a lot of things through this call. I hope all of those who joined us in live would have as well. Thank you for sharing your journeys with us. Hopefully more people will start composting, including myself.
Yes. Please do that.
That is the hope. And for all of those who have tuned into our live, we will be having another session tomorrow on the theme of gender justice. So we will have a person from an organization called Durga joining us. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much, Amarpreet and Anand. It was great talking to both of you.
Thank you.
Take care and good luck.
Bye.
Bye.